Motivation. Boy, what an incredibly loaded word. Talk about a topic that has been pursued for thousands of years. How to get motivated, stay motivated, and above all, when it comes to leadership, how to motivate others. If you'd studied the evolution of management, you know that motivation theory has evolved tremendously. For many years, the theory was that you treat people just like horses, motivating them with carrots and sticks, and rewards for good behavior and punishments for bad behavior. And then they'll behave accordingly, and you'll get them to move. Then with the Industrial Revolution came the theory of treating people like machines. Just give them the specific task, tell them exactly what to do, set them off to work, and off they go. The reality is that people who make up the modern workforce are not horses. They know more and have more information in their hands than anyone at any time in history. And here's a news flash: people are not machines. Whether you think that's good news or bad news, the reality is that people are people. They're complicated, sometimes problematic, often sensitive, and above all, they have the capacity to be incredibly and astoundingly resourceful, creative, and capable of amazing things. So what's a leader's role when it comes to motivation? Well, I've invited an amazing colleague, Monika Thakrar, to join me in presenting this course. Monika's been working with leaders and teams for more than 20 years to help them find answers to this question.
So what is a leader's role when it comes to motivation? A leader's role is not to try to be the source of motivation for others. This sets up a very short-term strategy whereby if the leader is not present, motivation ceases. Rather, a leader's role is to create an environment where others can find their own sources of motivation for themselves so that they can become self-motivated and where that motivation can grow and thrive. In this way, a leader can empower and support their people's growth and development.
Now, this is absolutely easier to say than it is to do. Understandably, you might be thinking, yikes, that sounds complicated. Can't we just keep it simple? Well, think about it. What are your options? Option one is to just keep it simple and use the carrots and sticks. And if they don't respond like horses, then that's their problem. Well, good luck with that strategy. By definition, you'll end up with a small number of people who prefer to think and act like horses, or machines who do just what they're told and no more. Option two is to motivate them yourself. I mean, you've seen the movies. You just need to be that charismatic, upbeat, inspiring leader we've all seen on TV. Again, good luck with that strategy. Even if you do have the strengths and gifts of an inspirational, charismatic leader, you'll end up with people who are depending on you as their sole source of drive. And when you go, so does their motivation.
We want to recommend to you option 3, which is creating the conditions where people can find their own sources of motivation. So what does that mean? Well, for one thing, it means being a role model. That is finding your own sources of motivation, tapping into and living out that example of a self-motivated leader, not solely being dependent on external factors. Second, that means helping your people discover their own sources of motivation. What's their motivational style? That is, are they motivated by working with others in a collaborative environment? Or do they do their best work in their own quiet, peaceful space? Are they motivated by tight deadlines and milestones, or do they get motivated when they have lots of freedom and flexibility to pursue their own course of action? And to what extent are they motivated by external rewards, and which ones specifically?
Third, it means removing roadblocks and not demotivating them with frustrating policies or practices that suck the oxygen out of their fire. Or creating a space where they can't feel motivation because they're feeling micromanaged or not listened to. It's not necessarily simple. It will take time, attention, persistence, and getting to know your people. And that's leadership. Let's start by having you assess your own level of motivation. On page 3 in the workbook, rate yourself on a scale of 0 to 10 with regard to how motivated you feel generally when it comes to your work. And then in the space below, unpack your assessment. Are there areas where you feel you are motivated and some where you're not? As we go through the material in the course, always start by applying it to yourself. Now, while this course is targeted to supervisors and managers, it's not only for them. Even if you aren't a supervisor, you still need to discover what motivates you and sustain your own motivation. And then you can help others find their own sources of motivation. That's called leadership at all levels. having positive influence in the organization regardless of your level of authority. Often when we talk about the topic of motivation in relation to leadership, there's an assumption that we're trying to figure out how to motivate everyone else. But everything we speak about in this course applies first and foremost to you individually in terms of finding your own sustainable sources of motivation, tapping into them, and serving as a role model for others.